We're talking today with Donald Leach of Byron Center, Michigan. Don Leach, yes.
Yeah.
Don Leach of Byron Center. There is no Donald there. It's Don Leach of Byron Center, Michigan. The interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Okay, Don, begin with some background on yourself, and to start with, where and when were you born?
I was born in Montrose, Michigan,
In what year?
26.
1926. Okay. Now, where in Michigan is Montrose?
It's between Flint and Saginaw.
Okay, so kind of eastern side of the state, but north of Detroit. Okay. And what was your family doing for a living when you were a kid?
My dad was a contractor.
Okay. Now, did he have steady work through the Depression?
Pretty much so, yeah.
Okay. And did you stay in the same place, or did you move around when you were growing up?
No, we stayed in the same place.
Okay. And do you remember how you heard about Pearl Harbor?
No, I don't. I don't remember when I heard about it.
All right. Now, did your family have a radio at home, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So you may have heard about it there, and some people heard about it when they went to school the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, so that was on a Sunday when Pearl Harbor happened. People go back and did you notice things start to change, or how were people responding to Pearl Harbor after that happened?
Well, I think that most of the people were, well, of course they were upset, but they felt that the company or the family should know what was going on at that time.
Mm-hmm. All right. But now, were people in your community, were they going and enlisting, or did you start to get rationing coming in, or?
Well, both.
Okay.
When the war first started, it was pretty much an enlistment.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time went on, we were drafted.
All right. Now, initially, when you were, when the war started, you were only 15, so you're not ready. You're not old enough to get drafted yet.
Right.
Now, as the war went on, did you figure that you were going to get into it eventually?
Well, I hadn't thought about it at that time,
Okay.
but yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And did you follow the news of the war in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
So I had an older brother that was in the Army
Mm-hmm.
in Europe.
Okay. All right. And then, were you able to finish high school, or did you leave school before
Yes,
that?
no, I finished high school
Okay.
and had, I don't know, one semester of college before I was drafted.
Okay. So when did you get your draft notice?
When I was 18.
Okay. So you turn 18 in 1944 and you get your draft notice.
Yeah.
All right. And then, what did you decide to do after you got the draft notice?
Well, I wanted to go in the Navy,
Mm-hmm.
and the draft board was putting people in either the Army pool or the Navy pool.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in the Navy pool, but I didn't get in the Navy.
Okay.
I got in the Marine Corps.
All right. So how did that happen?
That's where they put me.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes they talk about people lining up, and you go to the Navy, you go to the Navy, you go to the Marines. But in your case, you don't know. You just got orders to be in the Navy.
Yeah.
All right. And then when do you report for basic training? It's kind of summer of 44, or?
Yeah, right after I got out of high school.
Okay. All right. And where do they send you for your training?
San Diego.
Okay. So how do you get from Michigan to San Diego?
Train.
Okay. And what do you remember about that train ride?
It was long.
All right.
It wasn't bad.
were you able to get out periodically and walk around, or did you stay in a train car the whole time?
We were on the train most of the time.
Okay. And did the train stop a lot?
I really don't remember
Okay.
that.
Do you have a sense of how many days it took you to get out there?
I would guess 6 days, but I don't know.
Okay, so probably did stop a lot then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they would often stop a troop train and let other stuff go by. All right. And then when you got to San Diego, what kind of reception did you get from the Marine Corps?
Well, as the bus pulled into the camp, the guys that were already there was yelling out, "You'll be sorry." So that was my initial.
Okay, so the bus pulls up, and then what happens?
Oh, we get assigned to barracks, I guess.
Okay, but did they make you line up or stand in formation first, or did you just go right to the barracks?
No, I think they had us get lined up in the barracks or in.
Was there on a
In
parade
front of the
ground?
barracks,
Yeah, in
yeah,
front of the
parade
barracks.
ground.
Okay, all right. And what kinds of things did they teach you in the basic training?
How to kill.
Where did you get weapons training?
Yeah,
Remember what kind of weapons you were training on?
I had an M1.
Okay, so an M1 rifle. All right. Did you do hand-to-hand combat?
It's so long ago, I don't remember the particulars. but-
Okay. All right. Now, was there a lot of emphasis on discipline and on following orders?
Oh, yes, very much so.
Okay. And how easy or hard was it for you to adjust to that?
Well, it wasn't as difficult for me as it was. There's some older guys in our platoon,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't really appreciate the discipline that was handed out to them.
Okay. Now, you say older guys. How old do you think they were?
Oh, they must have been in their 20s.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I was old in those days.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, if people didn't behave properly, what happened to them?
I don't remember
Okay.
what.
Because sometimes they do extra exercises, sometimes they get hit, different things happen. So, but you basically did what they told you to do?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. And were you in good shape physically when you went in?
Yes.
Okay. So you could handle the physical exercise?
Hmm.
Okay. And do you remember about how long you spent in boot camp?
I think 6 weeks, but I'm not sure.
So pretty short. All right. Okay. So what did they do with you after you finished boot camp? What did you do next?
Went from San Diego to Pendleton to
Okay.
advanced training.
All right. And what kind of advanced training did you receive? What were they teaching you to do?
Kill?
Okay. Okay. So this was still infantry training?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And were you learning different kinds of weapons now? Firing a machine gun or a mortar or anything like that?
Yeah, we had machine guns, but we didn't have. I wasn't involved in any mortar fire.
Okay. All right. And I think did you get more specialized training after that, or were you assigned to a unit after that?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens next?
I think they were preparing us to ship out.
Okay. Because you mentioned, I guess, in some of your notes here, it talks about getting amphibious tractor training.
Oh, yes. And on Amtrak's, we were learning to drive them or whatever you
Okay.
call them at the time.
So what did an Amtrak look like?
Well, it's like a tractor or
And was it
yes, an amphibious tractor is
okay.
what that Amtrak
All right.
stood for.
Yeah, and was it armored or?
Yes,
Okay. And so would you use that for landing on a beach for an invasion or something like that?
yes,
Okay. All right. And did you practice landing in one of those?
yes.
Okay. And when you're riding in one of those, could you see anything or were you just inside of the...
No, we were inside.
And was there a roof over the top or was it open?
Yes,
Oh.
it's like a tank.
Okay. All right. And then it had a door on it. Was the door on the front or on the back?
No, I think the top.
Okay, so you climb out the top to get out?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, there were different varieties of them that they used,
Yeah.
and they did different things. But okay. But and how much time do you think you spent practicing with those?
Well, from the time I got to boot camp, I don't know.
I'm talking a few weeks or...
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Now, while you were in California, did you get a chance to kind of get off the base and do anything?
yes,
Okay, so where did you go?
LA,
Okay. And what did you do in Los Angeles?
have fun.
Okay. I mean, did they have shows for you or things like that? Or did people just eat and drink or go to movies?
Not when we're on Liberty.
Okay. So you just kind of wandered around and
Yeah, we're on our own.
enjoyed not having one giving you orders.
Right.
Okay. All right. And then, so after you've, so the things you do in California, basically, you have your basic training, you have your advanced training, you work with the amphibious tractors, and then is the next thing kind of loading you up on a ship and sending you off to,
Pretty much so, yes.
okay. And then did you sail out of San Diego or somewhere else?
I think Long Beach.
Okay. All right. And what kind of ship did they put you on?
Well, I was on LST for a while,
Okay.
and there was another transport that
Okay. Now,
they
did-
used also.
okay. Now, did you use the LST at the beginning or at the end of the trip, or?
In the beginning.
Okay. So you were sailing on the ocean in an LST.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like?
It was pretty good. It wasn't, of course, it was kind of rough physically.
Now, did a lot of the guys get seasick?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yes, they did.
Okay. Now, do you get seasick?
Not really.
Okay. Did you have any trick for avoiding that?
No.
Okay. And did you stop, and where did you stop then? Did you stop in Hawaii or did you keep going?
We stopped in Hawaii and joined a convoy in Hawaii, and then shipped out in the convoy.
Okay. And what was the weather like then on that part of the trip?
It was nice. I mean, it was hot.
Okay. And how did you spend your time when you were on the boat?
Oh, what did we do?
Did you have any jobs or were you just...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was in spud locker.
And what does that mean?
I was peeling potatoes.
Peeling potatoes, okay.
Yeah.
So gave you something to do.
Yeah.
All right. And did you have any scares from Japanese submarines or aircraft while you were on that trip?
No.
Okay.
Not that we were aware of.
Okay. All right. And then where did they land you? Was that when you went to Saipan, or did you go somewhere else first?
No, I think we probably went to Saipan.
Yeah, I think that's what we got in the records here. Okay. And you get to Saipan, and do you have an idea now of when it was that you got to Saipan? Was it early 45 or was it still 44?
I think it's late 44.
Okay. Do you remember where you spent Christmas 1944?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
So you might well have been overseas by then. Okay. Now Saipan had been captured by the Americans some months earlier in the year. So what did you do when you got to Saipan?
Well, we joined, I think I joined the 2nd Marine Division at the time.
Okay. And what kind of assignment did you have? Were you just an infantryman or did you do something else?
Yeah, I was a clerk typist.
Okay. How did you get that job?
Lucky.
Okay. Had you learned to type in high school? Or?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were going through training or processing, did they ever take note of that you knew how to type?
Yes.
Okay. And did you do any clerk typist work before you got to Saipan?
After I was in the Corps, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So as a clerk typist, I don't know, what kinds of things were you typing? Daily reports or personnel files or?
Yeah, it was a mixture.
Okay. All right. And did you get to explore around on the island at all, or did you just stay on the base?
In Japan?
No, in
We're in
Saipan.
Saipan? Yes. We were able to visit some of the locations on Saipan.
Were there still any Japanese there? Did they warn you there might still be a few around?
Yeah,
Okay.
like, as I remember it, we're hiking was a staple, and we're hiking through this one area, and we saw the Japanese up in the trees, but they didn't let them. They didn't fire on us,
Okay.
and they were trying to hide more or less.
All right. Okay. Now, were you, was this division now starting to train and prepare for another invasion?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have a sense of how long you spent on Saipan? Until the invasion of Okinawa?
I would guess, but
Okay.
I can't remember now.
All right. Because Okinawa starts on the 1st of April. Okay. But the 2nd Division did not go to Iwo Jima, which was the thing that happened kind of in between. Now, while you were on Saipan, did they provide any kind of entertainment for you?
We had USO.
Okay.
In fact, I think one of the pictures shows the ladies from USO in front of the barracks.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They were U.S. citizens. They weren't Japanese.
Okay. And did they put on shows for you, or just feed you, or what?
Yeah, you could call it that.
Okay. But you didn't have anybody really famous come out? I mean, you didn't get Bob Hope or anything?
No.
Okay.
Some of the units did, but we never did.
Okay. All right. So basically, you spend several months on Saipan kind of waiting for something to happen. Now, while you're on Saipan, did you get much news or information about what was happening in other places?
Not really.
Okay. And did you communicate with people back home? Did you send letters home, or did you get anything from home?
Yes, but our mail was censored,
Mm-hmm.
so
So
what
you,
we had to say was pretty bland.
mm-hmm. And who were you writing to?
My folks,
Your parents at that point? Okay. All right. And then, did they ever send you anything? Did they send any gifts, or just letters, or?
well, yeah, they could. Their incoming mail
Mhm.
wasn't censored.
Right.
My outgoing mail was
Sure.
all censored.
Okay. But did you have them send you anything from the States?
Have any what?
Did they send you any presents from the States, like any food or anything like that?
Gee, I don't remember now.
Okay. All right. So mostly now you're kind of waiting for something to happen. And then we get into March, they start preparing for the invasion of Okinawa. All right. So kind of pick up the story there. For the invasion of Okinawa, do you remember what kind of ship you were on?
LST.
You were on LST again. Okay. And when you were on the LST, could you see the other ships in the convoy?
Oh yes.
Okay. All right. And then as you're sailing over toward Okinawa, did the Japanese bother you at all, or was it quiet until you got there?
It was fairly quiet.
Okay. All right. So, and then when the invasion began, what did you see? What did you hear?
It's hard to remember because a lot of that stuff, my memory would block it out anyhow.
Okay. Because you remember there was a big naval bombardment.
I assume,
Okay.
but I
So that doesn't really register with you.
no.
All right. Now, when that was going on, were you in the hold of the LST, or?
Yes.
Okay. So it was just all happening out there someplace.
Yeah. We could hear it, but we couldn't see it.
Okay. Now, did you land on the first day, the day of the invasion, or did you go in later?
We went in, I don't know, first or second day.
Okay.
I don't remember.
All right. And then when you got on shore, was there fighting going on, or was it quiet where you were?
Yeah.
So which one? Was it quiet, or was there fighting going on?
There was fighting going on.
Okay. And how close were you to the fighting, do you think?
Too close.
Okay. Was there artillery fire coming at you, or aircraft or anything?
No. No aircraft.
Okay. But you could hear the sounds of the fighting?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. And once you got on shore, what did you do? Did you set up a headquarters, or just wait for something to happen?
Yeah. I was in Leach Company,
Okay.
headquarters and service company.
Right.
And so whatever they had assigned to us is what we were doing.
Okay. And then, did you set up a camp and stay there, or did you move around a lot?
We moved some, but not a lot.
Okay. All right. Because I think the way the story of Okinawa goes, a lot of the fighting was all on one end of the island, and originally the Army got into a lot of that, and the Marines kind of marched across the areas that weren't as heavily occupied. do you think that's what happened with you? I mean, were the Marines that you were supporting, were they getting into a lot of heavy combat, or?
I can't tell. I don't
Okay.
remember.
All right. Now, do you remember if, I guess, were you able to see or hear things like the kamikaze attacks? Because the fleet would get attacked by the Japanese. Did you see or hear any of that, or were you too far away?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Now, because in your records it indicates you don't stay on Okinawa too long. You get on a ship and then you go someplace else, or you go back to Okinawa. So you're on Okinawa for a while, and then you go to Ieshima, a little island that's near Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you remember anything about that?
No, I don't.
Not particularly. Okay. So you're kind of behind lines for the most part. You're not involved directly in a lot of the fighting. Were there times when the position you were in came under fire? Did the Japanese ever shoot at you?
Yeah, I think that we were, but I mean, it's been so long,
Okay.
I don't remember.
So it didn't make that big an impression on you. Okay. Now, eventually things kind of quiet down. I mean, Ieshima is captured, and eventually the Japanese in Okinawa surrendered. And the next thing in the plans would have been the invasion of Japan. And was your unit getting ready to go to Japan?
Yes.
Okay. And what did they tell you about that invasion, or what might happen?
Not much.
Okay. But basically, you're still waiting, and there's not a whole lot. A couple of different events happen. Back before you went to Okinawa, President Roosevelt died. Do you remember hearing about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what was the reaction of people around you when they found that out?
It was mixed.
Mm-hmm.
There were some Republicans and some Democrats.
Okay, so some things don't change too much.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing, of course, is Germany surrendered in May. Now, by that time, you were out on Okinawa or Ieshima. But do you remember hearing about Germany surrendering?
No, I don't remember.
Okay. All right.
My brother was over there,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know whether my folks had written, told me about it, or what.
Yeah.
I don't,
Okay. Well,
didn't register much of
okay.
it.
Now, did you ever see things like the Stars and Stripes newspaper?
No.
Okay. All right. Now we get to August, then the atomic bombs get dropped. And do you remember hearing about that?
No.
Okay. And of course, right after that, the Japanese surrendered. And then, what was the reaction to that?
Well, it was sort of a happy time, I guess.
Well, were you relieved that you weren't going to have to invade Japan?
Well, I was only 18, so
Okay.
didn't really register.
Okay. Now, eventually, you do go to Japan yourself, though.
Yeah, I went to Japan.
Okay. So talk about that. I mean, when did you get to Japan? Where did you go in Japan?
Nagasaki.
Okay.
I think we landed
Yeah. So that's a
at
port.
Nagasaki.
All right. Now that's of course a place where one of the atomic bombs had been dropped.
Yeah.
Now, when you got to Nagasaki, did you see the damage from the bomb blast?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did that look like to you?
Well, it was utterly desolation, I guess.
Now,
There wasn't anything left standing.
now, were there parts of the city that were still there? Or did you
I
go?
don't think so.
Okay. For what you saw, basically a big blast. All right.
Right.
Now you're there, but you wouldn't have stayed there. So where did you go after you landed?
up to Sasebo.
Okay. And Sasebo, that was a big Japanese naval base.
Mhm.
All right. Now, did you stay there very long, or did you move on from there?
Well, I think we stayed there for a while.
Because you were there, and then at some point you were also at Fukuoka?
Yeah, I was there too.
Okay. All right. So a couple of different places. So when you first got to Japan and you're going through the areas that were not hit by the bomb, what impression did you have of the country when you got there?
Well, of course, it was pretty battered up
Okay.
at that time,
Mm-hmm.
but I really don't remember.
Okay. And what was your unit doing there? Did you have any particular assignment?
Well, basically, occupation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how did the Japanese people behave toward you?
Surprisingly, they were quite, I'm not sure how you describe it, but they were
Well, were
they'd
they-
take care of us. I mean, they were not combative or anything
Okay.
like that.
All right, so they were polite or respectful.
Mhm.
Okay.
To our face, anyhow.
Mm-hmm. All right. And did your unit have to do any kind of policing or patrolling, or did people just kind of sit around?
Well, yes, of course. I was working in the office, so
Mhm.
I didn't do any actual police work. But yeah, that was our assignment.
Mhm.
Was to make sure that the Japanese behaved.
Mhm. Okay. Now, was there still a Japanese police force at that point?
Yes.
So they had traffic cops and things like that?
Mhm.
Okay, so they're still there and they're still working. All right. And did you get out much into the community? Did you go look around and explore different places?
Yes, we were allowed to do that after a period of time.
Mhm. All right. And what kinds of things did you see? What did you do when you went off the base?
Gee, I don't
Well,
remember now.
would you go, would you go and go to restaurants or tea houses or things like that?
Yeah, I guess we did.
Okay. Now,
We weren't supposed to, but I think we did.
mhm. Okay. And you also have a lot of pictures from Japan.
Mhm.
Okay. Do you remember how you wound up with a camera?
No, I don't remember how I got it.
Okay. You had one. Now, were you able to develop your own pictures in Japan, or did you send them somewhere else?
No, they were developed. Our unit, I guess,
Okay.
could develop them.
So your unit had a photo lab or that kind of thing. All right. Now you've also got pictures there of like a sumo wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Japanese were putting on entertainments for you.
Well, yes. They would, it was interesting because their clothing was like a rubber tire around their waist. That's about what it was.
All right. Now, you've also got pictures of some school kids. Did you visit schools or just walk by them and see the kids playing?
No, we didn't. I didn't visit any schools.
Okay. But then you had a picture of them out in the playground playing baseball.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. And you've also got pictures at certain points of young Japanese women with some of the soldiers. Did some of the men in your unit have girlfriends, or okay? And was that allowed?
no,
Okay.
but they had them anyhow.
Now, did some of the men in the unit get in trouble? They get drunk or get into fights or other things like that?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. Well, probably, not there in the headquarters, because
Yeah,
you don't know about the rest of the guys. Okay. But in general, as far as you could tell, the relationship between the Marines and the Japanese was pretty friendly?
well, yes, they, for some reason or other, they had accepted the fact that we were the conquerors, and we had to do what, they had to do what we were told them to do.
Okay. Now, did you get instructions from your own officers about how to behave or how to treat the Japanese?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
We probably did, but I don't remember.
But you weren't supposed to go out and do bad things to them.
Pardon?
You were supposed to behave yourselves. You
Oh,
weren't,
yes.
weren't supposed to go and loot or pillage or steal or anything else that
Right.
Japanese do. Okay. All right. And when you were there, well, I guess, about how long do you think you stayed in Japan?
I think I stayed in Japan until I came home.
All right. I guess it says here in your notes, you returned home in July of 46. So basically you spend pretty close to a year in Japan at that point. Now, did you have any idea how long you were going to stay there?
No.
Okay. Now, were they using the points system?
Yes.
Okay, so you accumulate a certain number of points, you got to go home.
Right.
So did other men in your headquarters go home before you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as a clerk, were you able to keep track of your own points and have a pretty good idea?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's been so long, but I think I kept a close record of when I'd be eligible to come back to the States.
Okay. All right. Now, did you enjoy your time in Japan?
Yes.
And if you think about that time you spent there, are there any particular memories that you've got that you haven't brought into the story here yet? People you met or things you did or saw?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. Now, when you enlisted originally, I think you told me there were some other men from Montrose who went in with you. Okay. How long did you stay with them? Just through training or?
Just boot camp.
Okay. And then in your unit then that you served with the 2nd Marine Division, were there other men from Michigan that you met, or were you kind of on your own?
I assume there was Michigan men, but
Okay.
I don't remember now.
All right. And did you have a particular group of friends that you hung out with or did things with?
Yeah, there's fellows my own age that that I spent time with.
Okay. And did you keep in touch with any of them after you got home?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Well, one in particular, he was from Baltimore, and he came and spent some time with me. And I spent some time with him in Baltimore.
Okay. All right. So when you finally get your chance to go home, did you take another ship to go from Japan back to the States? Do you remember that voyage at all?
Vaguely, I can remember when we first saw the States from the ship. It's been the first time in what, a couple of years that
yeah.
we'd seen the U.S. mainland. So, yeah, we're kind of excited about that.
Okay.
But we didn't land at San Diego.
Mhm.
We went down the west coast of South America and came through the Panama Canal.
Okay.
And
All
then
right.
back up the east coast,
Okay. So where did you land then?
Norfolk.
Okay, Norfolk, Virginia. All right. Now, when you got there, did they discharge you there, or did they send you somewhere else?
You know, they sent us to, what was it?
Well, they send you like to Great Lakes Naval Station? Or,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I sent a lot of guys to Chicago for some reason. Army did that
Yeah.
too. Okay, so you go to Great Lakes, you get discharged from there. All right. So you get back home. Now it's 1946, so now you're 20 years old, basically. What do you do after you got home?
Went to school.
Okay. And where did you go to school? Was it a junior college or a four-year school? Or?
Yeah, I think we started out at JC.
Mm-hmm. And then did you go on from there?
No, I think after that, or during that period, I met my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and so we didn't go
Okay.
beyond that.
All right. So what kind of job did you get into? What kind of work did you do after you left school?
Well, I went work in the office.
Well, whose office?
Pardon?
Well, I mean, who did you work for?
Oh, the commanding officer, whoever it was.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out what business you worked for. Did you work for a business or for a state agency or?
Oh, after I got out of the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm. Well, what kind of career did you have? And how did you earn a living all those years?
What did I do?
In the state of Michigan as in the Department of Treasury, he was a district
Oh,
manager.
okay. So when you said you went to the office, you worked for the state of Michigan?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. All right.
He was an accountant.
All right. Now,
auditor.
yeah. So did your experience as a clerk typist or whatever in the Marine Corps help set you up for office work?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you kind of look back over the time that you spent in the service, how do you think that affected you, or what did you learn from it?
Well, I think it helped me to become more mature than a 18-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm. And did you learn lessons that helped you later on?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But,
All right. And kind of getting along with different kinds of people and that sort of stuff. All right. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time to share your story today.